muchachos?
Today we have Maurice. Maurice, who is a young filmmaker, and he's here to talk to us about his first full-length film.
Yeah.
Which he made and which is scheduled to premiere in a couple of weeks.
Nice. I'm Maurice. Let's just get you to say hi.
Welcome.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for having me.
Your full name is Maurice Schaack.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes,
it's a real
good
pleasure
to have you.
and honestly an honor. In a way, we were lucky enough to see your work in advance because it's going to be screening soon on the 22nd, I believe.
Yes, exactly, the 22nd of March.
Right.
Lovely. And we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, the movie, just I guess important to mention the name of the thing.
Yes.
The English title is No Pink Elephants or Magic Bullets, and I'll let you say the Dutch name of that in a sec. But yeah, it's a documentary film about broadly, I guess, psychedelics, but more specifically therapeutic potential and therapeutic use of psychedelics in the Netherlands. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. That's absolutely correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, maybe before we get into that, let's just learn a little bit about you.
Yes.
Who you are,
Sure.
and maybe we'll learn a bit about your path into becoming a filmmaker. So,
That sounds good.
Where are you from, man?
So I'm from Luxembourg.
Nice.
And I came to the Netherlands in 2016 to study here. And I studied media.
Nice.
So I did media studies. And
At
then
the university or at the Hanze?
No, at the university.
Cool.
At de Rug.
Nice.
And then after that, I did a master's in Middle Eastern studies, so not related at all.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, that's a switch.
That's a switch, yeah.
That was a switch indeed. I did that because I saw that Rug offered it, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, why
I'd
not,
like to
right?
do that.
Yeah.
But then I saw that professionally, so career-wise, there was not a lot of options, and I thought, okay, let's go back to media. So I
Yeah.
did a master's in
Roots.
film studies.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to the New York Film Academy to learn about
Amazing.
filmmaking,
Sick.
and that kind of kickstarted the whole filmmaking thing.
Yeah. Kind of off the top, what brought you to the media studies bachelor's in the first place?
Well, that's a good question. I've always been interested in history and politics, and I thought, but I also didn't see myself becoming a historian or politician. So I thought, how about journalism?
I was going to ask.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And then media studies led me to journalism, and then I thought, okay, I don't really see myself becoming a journalist. And while doing media studies, I was always a little disappointed that it was not more practical and that we didn't really learn about, like filmmaking, video making, all of that.
You wanted more of that, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah. Would you still recommend the bachelor's to someone who is vaguely curious about media studies?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good first step to get into it, and de Rug is a really good university, right? So it's a first.
Yeah, you love the shout
Don't
out.
expect to get really far with it, but it's definitely a good first step.
Yeah, great. And I guess that makes a lot of sense that you were interested in journalism and you went to the Middle Eastern studies.
Exactly.
That links up pretty well. Media, Middle East, you do some journalism there. But I mean, hey, in a sense, you still are doing journalism.
That is true.
You still did a journalistic piece, a documentary.
Yeah.
But
For a non-journalist, it was very journalistic.
it's very journalistic for a non-journalist.
Now I am doubting whether I should do the master or not.
Yeah, just do something else, and then you eventually just make a documentary. It's easy. But the
How
New
did
York,
you get
New York
to-
Film Academy, I'm really curious about that. How did you come to that? It seems so different from the Rug.
Well, that is a very good question again. So I did the master's in film studies.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting for sure, but it was also mildly disappointing because there's no practical skills, and I thought, but I need those.
Give me a camera.
Exactly. And so I was looking at this film school in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But then they postponed the course. They said, oh no, we're going to do it in 6 months and then
wait.
a year. And I thought, okay, this feels a little scammy.
Yeah.
Was that due to COVID or just because there was some Nigerian prince there? Not to hate people from Nigeria,
Just bad
but
vibes.
No, I mean, they said it was because of COVID, but then they
lied.
The year after that, they were supposed to recontact me and tell me if it was going to happen.
Sure.
Never heard from them again.
Okay.
So I feel like COVID was more of an excuse than a real reason.
But you were able to do something else.
Exactly. So my father's girlfriend, she knew someone who did the New York Film Academy and who recommended it. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
That was in late August. So I
In the year of our Lord.
Which year? Yeah.
That was
Two ways of saying that.
I would say 2021.
Cool. Ooh, yeah.
And then I signed up. They accepted me, and then 3 weeks later, I was in Italy to follow their courses at their Italian campus in Florence.
Fantastic. Yeah. And how was Florence?
Beautiful.
I believe it.
Beautiful. The only downside is that the film school was really 24/7. So during the week you have classes, and then on the weekend you shoot.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of time for sightseeing.
Yeah,
but the big advantage is that you get to shoot your first films in a very, very beautiful city, and that's really nice.
There's a bunch of student films all with like Florence as the backdrop. That's actually really cool. Chris, I believe you had a question.
I guess to move the introduction forward a bit and
tempo
to talking about the movie that's about to release. So how did you get to that? What motivated you to make this movie, and how did that happen for you?
So I have, as I said, during my film studies master, they offered a course on psychedelics in film, and because I have been interested
that's
in
specific.
That's very interesting.
That is very. I mean, the film, the course, the title of the course was something like psychedelics and the weird and the arcane in film, something like that. But it boiled down to psychedelics in film, and I had been interested in psychedelics before, and I thought, well, this is a very nice way to combine both.
Sure.
So I did the course, very interesting course, and then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to write my master thesis on that. So I wrote my master thesis on the representation of psychedelics in cinema.
Very cool.
Where I then analyzed 4 different films that talk about psychedelics and that have, psychedelics be an important part of them. And then and I kind of analyzed how those movies approach the topic and how they talk about psychedelics.
Yeah, sure.
And I realized what I knew that before, but my thesis confirmed that there's a really big stigma around psychedelics, and that in popular culture they are represented very negatively. When
war on drugs, woo!
Yeah, war on drugs, huge part.
Precisely. And whereas science tells us that they're not that bad, that they have a therapeutic potential, to which we will come later. And I thought,
So these movies that you were following, were these all documentaries or just like
no.
Leaving Las Vegas? No, not Leaving Las Vegas, but the one with Johnny Depp.
Yes, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Loathing, that's the one.
Exactly that one.
And that's not a documentary, everyone.
No. So there were 4 fictions, 2 movies from the 60s, so the hippie era, and then 2 more contemporary movies. Amongst which Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp.
That was going to be my question, like when are these movies from, like, if you've seen kind of a paradigm shift in the way that psychedelics are perceived or represented. But I guess we can get to all of that and more specific things about your film. Again, the title, No Pink Elephants or Magic Bullets. What's the Dutch title of that?
Geen roze olifanten of magic bullets.
There you go.
There we go.
There you have it. We'll listen to a song and then we'll come back talking to Maurice. Maurice.
Which song are we on about?
I would say let's enter with Loving is Easy by Rex Orange Country and Benny Sings.
Sounds great.
And that on Happy Hour FM.
Loving is Easy.
6 FM on the
right
radio.
Everything's perfect. Please don't change a single little thing for me. Listen, girl, when you can't even hide it, and it didn't take forever to find it. I was all on my own, almost glad to be alone until love came in on time. So loving is easy. You have me fucked up. It used to be so hard to see. Yeah, loving is easy when everything's perfect. Please don't change a single little thing for me. hide it. And it didn't take forever to find it. I was all on my own, almost glad to be alone until love came in on time, oh, on time. Loving is easy, you had me fucked up. It used to be so hard to see. Yeah, loving is easy when everything's perfect. Please don't change a single little thing for me.
Welcome back, everybody, to Happy Hour FM.
Ooh, love that song.
Back.
We're here with Maurice Schaack talking about his upcoming documentary, which will premiere on the 22nd, called...
Where will it premiere, by the way?
Important detail.
Yeah.
It will premiere at the Vrijdag Theatre, close to the Noorderplantsoen.
Yeah.
There you have
Oh,
it.
yeah, there you go.
There you have it.
It's called No Pink Elephants or Magic Bullets.
Yes, and it's
olifantjes.
a documentary film about therapeutic use of psychedelics in the Netherlands. But Maurice, may you tell us a bit more about this film? What should somebody expect to see?
So it is a collection of interviews with different people that have different expert knowledge on the topic. So, of course, researchers. I have a historian that did a lot of research on the history of psychiatry. Then a professor in psychology here at the Rug, and then psychology, psychiatry, that kind of stuff. Smartshop owners, people who have had therapeutic experiences themselves. And I even have an interview with someone who's the organizer of a psychedelic retreat in Friesland.
Yeah, so quite a varied cast in there.
Where did you find these lovely people?
So the people with therapeutic experience, I found most of them through the Psychedelic Society Groningen, who helped me find those people.
That exists? Whoa.
That does exist.
For sure.
They are a little bit less active now than they used to be, but they're going to come back and organize more events again.
After that premiere, man, their phone will be red glowing.
Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, the three of us here got a chance to see the
film in advance.
We've got the scoop.
And I think I speak for everybody when I say that it was really fascinating. I personally was very, I just found it very interesting, and I got a lot of questions to ask you here. We'll see how many we can get through.
There you go, break loose. Yeah.
Right. Okay, man. Well, let's jump into the questions. I'm just gonna shoot with one. Okay. The movie opens on the premise that there is a crisis in mental health in the modern day, and perhaps psychedelics could be one way. One thing that could be useful for people. Yeah, but let's focus in on the premise of there being a crisis in mental health. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that's the case?
I do think that that's the case. In my documentary, I also talk about certain studies that have been made, one by the Trimbos Institute and one by the RIVM, that show that mental health issues or problems are increasing. And especially amongst young people, they're increasing so much that you could talk about a mental health crisis.
Okay.
It's a little... I don't think that they themselves would use the word crisis, but I think that you could...
an epidemic, a plague.
Exactly.
And why do you think that is?
It is a difficult question.
It's complex, yeah.
But I do think that...
By the way, solve world peace. Now that you're here,
I will try my best. Yeah, no, but I mean, I think in general, our world is a little difficult now with what we see in the news, Ukraine, Russia, Trump, all of that. That's not really nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to put
That
it.
is for sure.
A euphemism. The economy also not doing that great. I feel like a lot of, especially young people, see for the first time in a very long time that the lives that they're living or the lives that they're going to live are probably going to be much less good than the lives that their parents lived. I think that there's a lot of
Don't spoil it.
doubt that the future is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Wars, the geopolitical context, climate change, of course. And I think that that's affecting a lot of people. So I would say there's the general context, but then there is also the micro context.
Yeah.
So, social media bombards you with negative information all the time. Social media is made to make you addicted and, just keep you hooked on the negative spiral. I also think that, the society we live in, the meritocracy, is a cause for a lot of pressure. A lot of people live lives that they don't really enjoy, which has been the case before, but now people through social media also see the lives that other people are living, and they constantly compare themselves with it, and they think, my life is really shit and everyone else is having a good life.
Yeah.
And it is, of course, a double-edged sword. It has some pros, but it also has some cons.
Definitely.
And I think that, some people also argue that our brains are not made for the lives that we live. A constant stream of information, not being outside enough, eating processed food, too much sugar, too much fat. And I think that all of these things are part of the reason why, in general, mental health is not doing well. And of course, that's also another reason is that there's definitely also more diagnosing, and we are more aware of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Whereas, back in the day, there were no diagnoses, and if you had mental issues, that you would just have to deal with it. And most people
tough
didn't.
life.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think it's good that nowadays we are aware of it, and we're trying to address it, and we're trying to help people with mental issues. So
Yes.
Boy, did I open a can of worms with that question, but I think a very good and well-spoken answer from you.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess if you can speak to where research is
Yes.
currently, are there
Where
any
are we
things
at?
we can definitively say, substance A is good for B, or
So a little disclaimer: keep in mind that I'm neither researcher nor scientist, so
Nor a
what I'm
therapist.
saying-
Disinformation
nor a
here.
therapist. So take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt. But from what I know, there are really good results in using MDMA against PTSD, and these results are so good that in Australia, MDMA is now part officially of the arsenal to treat PTSD.
Interesting.
So I think that's a pretty good indication that it's probably working.
There's something there.
Exactly. And the same goes for, or similarly, ketamine is used against depression, and these studies also have really good results. There are actually, if I'm not mistaken, studies happening at the moment at the UMCG to try to treat depression with ketamine. It's also good to keep in mind that they don't use that to treat those diseases just from the get-go. It is only used for people who are therapy resistant, so they have tried all other kinds of therapy,
right,
and they didn't work, and that also includes things like electroshocks and stuff. And now they are then using ketamine, and that apparently is working pretty
It's
well.
very interesting, but so there's clearly still work that's being done,
yes,
still work to be done,
and one
Science
question
progress.
raised in the movie is whether researchers dealing with psychedelics should have had
that's very interesting.
first-hand experiences themselves, and there's it's a moment in the movie for a few minutes where people give their opinions on the matter. Do you have a stance on that?
Yes, I do. I definitely see both arguments, right? Because psychedelics are something strange, and they have a strange effect on your brain. And it is really difficult to understand what that is if you have never tried it. And some people make the case that it is really difficult to understand if you haven't tried it, and therefore researchers should have tried it because that helps them to understand it.
Right.
But others say that it impacts your objectivity, and that if you've tried psychedelics, you are more on the pro side, and that you're less objective. And I asked this question to the researchers, and they said that I mean, both objectivity, that is often a problem in research, and there's very good methods to make sure that you're not biased. So they say that this is also valid for psychedelic research. And others also said that you don't necessarily need to have experience to understand something. A historian who treats the Roman Empire has not lived in the Roman Empire. And I think that I get both points of view. Yeah. And I therefore think that it is important that we have researchers who are both researchers who have tried it and researchers who haven't tried it, because then we get the full spectrum, and then we check all the boxes.
Yeah,
I think that's important to have both.
You need the collaboration between them. That's very good.
That makes total sense. And it was also really interesting to me because the potential benefits of psychedelics are we often talk about like the psychological aspect, like it can help with depression and PTSD and things like that. In the movie, there's also an anecdote of a woman whose recovery from stroke-induced paralysis could potentially also have been positively affected by psychedelics. So, is there? Are people thinking about that as well, like the physical benefits of this stuff?
So yes and no. It is shown that psilocybin, so the active component of mushrooms, does increase neuroplasticity. So it creates new connections in your brain.
Right, that's what I meant.
Now, whether this is the reason, whether this woman has recovered better from a stroke is difficult to say.
Right.
Because we have no data on how this recovery would have been without, exactly.
Give her a stroke again and try it without.
Give a very similar woman a stroke and see what...
I think that there would be
a bit unethical, but yes.
To make it clear, the guy talking about, that's his wife in the documentary.
Exactly. Yes.
He makes that clear as well, that they don't know.
Yes, and that's why, and I think that it is a very a valid point, and I also think that's very important. That being said, other than that, the benefits are mostly psychological. You don't grow taller or stronger, or you don't become healthier if you, or broken legs, stuff like that. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. It's mostly.
Do you know at all how this research is quantified? Like, let's say, let's test this psychedelic for this problem. Like, this person has depression. Let's try this psychedelic if it works with them. How do you quantify what works and what doesn't?
That is
just see if they get better, or
and unfortunately, I do not have the answer.
That's fair.
Much like how do you quantify psychology?
Exactly. And there we really go very deep into the topic. And I went to the psychedelics summer school for psychedelic research, and that's this summer school for researchers. And I saw that it is very, very complicated. You really need to be a professional to understand all the different methods and the different programs they use. So that's unfortunately I cannot speak for.
By the way, just as like a little disclaimer, as well as considering we're on public radio, like we don't, or the documentary, it doesn't advocate for any type of legally questionable stuff, right?
For sure, Happy Hour FM has no stance on advocating, or it's you do your research and figure your own life out. But actually, that's an interesting point about the documentary. I felt that it was very all-encompassing, summarizing a lot of sides. But do you think it in any way it advocates anything in the end?
It definitely does not advocate to take psychedelics nilly-willy. Of course. It says to. It is definitely making a point in favor of the therapeutic potential, but it also, deals with the topic critically. That's also why the documentary is called No Pink Elephants or Magic Bullets. Because when you take psychedelics, you don't see pink elephants, but it is also not a magic bullet, not a magic pill that resolves all of your problems. So that's also important to say.
Great title, by the way.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I don't know. That's like, especially because in Dutch, roze olifantjes, of course, that is like, whatever people pretty much like the saying, whatever people see whenever they're on drugs. But it's also like, don't think of the pink elephant, then that people instantly think about the pink elephant.
Yeah, there's that saying.
Taking into consideration in this, or?
That's. I mean, that's why I called it like that, because in Luxembourg you also have that saying. Yes. So and I found out you have it in.
We're so similar, almost the same flags, always the same sayings, and
very close cousins.
Yes, and, we're both tax havens.
And I think that if the also yes. But yeah, if the documentary advocates something that it is, then it would be give psychedelics a chance. And
on scientific purposes,
exactly, and try to not let the stigma influence you too much. Not all substances are the same, and putting heroin and mushrooms on the same level is clearly not justified. Trying to break with that stigma.
Give it a chance, I guess, in the sense of like, don't discard it as a potential research topic.
Yes.
But don't go into shabby alleys to.
No, don't. And that's also very important, and that's also a point that I make in my documentary. Psychedelics are not for everyone. On a personal level, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And there is also certain cases where you really should not do it.
Of course.
If you have a history of schizophrenia, for example, or psychosis, don't do it. If you're taking antidepressants, don't take magic mushrooms. Or any of those. It's
or if you're really effective to addiction or whatever.
That yes and no, because the addictive potential of psychedelics is really low. Especially mushrooms. There's, as far as I know, no one has ever died from mushrooms, and people getting addicted to mushrooms, because you don't get physically addicted. You can get psychologically addicted, but it is a lot more difficult. But you don't get physically addicted.
Very interesting.
Did your views and/or opinions on any aspect of psychedelics change during the making of this documentary?
And you really read it a lot, like the man.
I just decided to shoot.
Do you, he or she?
You?
I mean, in general, no. I had my opinion, and the research I did somewhat confirmed that. But it helped me to nuance my positions and also see the limitations more clearly. So I didn't change my opinion, but I got a deeper understanding of it, and that was really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's what the doc definitely gave me a deeper understanding of it. Yeah, and if you're curious about this topic at all, or if you have a strong opinion about the topic, I would say watch it, because you get to see the human side of it. You hear from people, and that's super convincing. Or
if you have a very strong opinion on it now, or agree or disagree with us, please give us a WhatsApp message or an Instagram message.
If you have a question for Maurice, you want to put him on the hot seat, send us a message.
He's already on the hot seat. Final question before we take another lovely musical break.
Yeah, we have some time for a few more.
Oh yeah,
shoot.
Go for it. So where do you see like you speak about potential. So where do you see this like potential going in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
So that is really, really difficult to say, because I'm not a specialist, and
where's your crystal ball?
My crystal ball. With everything that's been going on recently, it's really difficult to make predictions, right?
Oh yes,
it could. We could get a very conservative.
It could be hit by a meteor tomorrow.
Or we could have a really conservative government that's going to cut all funding. That's always
pretty much already there. Tomorrow, Wednesday, whenever there's a strike coming up.
Yeah, I believe on the 18th there's a strike for the university.
Yes.
Yeah. See, so things like that. But from what I know, is that we are not ready yet to include it into the therapeutic arsenal yet. We need to do more research, because it is still not very clear which psychedelic substance you can use against which mental illness, and it also doesn't always work the same for people.
Yeah,
because the effect of psychedelics can also be dependent on the set and setting. So. In what mindset you have, why you are, with whom you're taking them, and that makes it really difficult sometimes to properly assess their effects. So we first need more research to clearly see what works against what.
For sure.
Then we also need to have a look at how do we educate our therapists how are we going to prepare them? And then we need to prepare them. And one of my interviewees said that he's expecting it to take another 10 years until psychedelics are part of the arsenal to help people.
Yeah.
And he expects it then to be between a pharmacy and a smart shop, but that you can only get access to psychedelics if you have a referral by a doctor or a psychologist, but that it's not going to be a shop and then you buy whatever you want whenever you want. But
it's going to be a resource available to people who really need it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember that moment in the movie.
Yeah. We have a question from a listener, actually.
Cool. Go for it.
So, listener Benz, the truck driver.
Oh yeah,
here we are.
He's Hungarian.
How you doing?
Drives a truck around the highways.
I believe
delivering goods to various countries.
Might be in Lithuania right now.
Or
diesel through his veins.
Our boy Benz, he's asking, will the movie be available online? If so, where? And if not, then what places will it be screened at besides the Vrijdag Theatre?
So that is a very good question.
Thank you, Benz.
Thank you, Benz. Because it is my first documentary, the whole distribution is new land for me.
Yeah.
I am organizing another screening in the Randstad, probably in Utrecht, but there's no dates yet.
That's cool, though.
But if you want to go screaming, that's fine by us.
But I do think that it is going to be available online. I can't say where yet with certainty, but YouTube, Vimeo, but it will, unfortunately, you will have to pay a little fee to watch it.
You deserve it. It's a
you make money out of it.
Documentary you worked on. People gotta
pay for art, you know.
People gotta stop freeloading all the hours of content they get for free online.
Sounds good.
To be found free is this lovely show.
Should we take a short break?
Let's do it.
Come back with some more on various topics.
Yeah,
we
radio,
talk about
music.
The technical sides of the movie.
I've got a bunch of questions.
About the subject matter. Yeah, whatever comes to mind. But Maurice, hit us with another song. What are we gonna hear?
So I think that now we're going to listen to music that has been made by an artist that makes this music for psychedelic trips. And the song is called Turn Away and Return by Hammock.
Okay.
Hammock.
See ya.
everybody, welcome back to Happy Hour FM. We're here with Maurice Schaack talking about his movie, or the upcoming documentary, which is titled...
Geen roze olifant of magic bullets, or in English, No Pink Elephants or Magic Bullets.
Thank you very much. So that is going to premiere soon on the 22nd at the Vrijdag Theatre, and people can still get tickets for that.
Yes, where can they get tickets?
They can get tickets. You can probably put a link on the website, because
there are a link
called Luma, but you need a link.
So check his socials for sure. We'll have a post with his socials linked. We'll have the link as well. Make sure
keep our Insta in mind.
Grab a seat. It's a great doc, and about the doc, I have a bunch of questions about the technicality of it, and I hope this is interesting to people. But I mean, hey, people watch movies, and they know some people know how movies are made, and
behind the scenes,
radio,
DVDs, man, they're the best stuff.
I love VHSs. I wanted to ask you about the actual making of this movie. We've talked about the inspiration and the purpose behind it, and that's great and all, but the movie exists as a piece of film and audio and text, and I would love to go into that.
That's really how films are.
Yeah, but you got to think about, there's a lot of steps to get there. And I guess let's just talk visual, first of all. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of visual approach to recording interviews, recording people, and recording everything in between?
Yeah, so that's actually pretty basic. I set up a camera with a tripod.
Great.
And then I use a little bit of lighting to make it, look a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then I use what we call a lav mic, so like a microphone that you attach to your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And what was important to me was that everyone had a different background, so I didn't film every interview at the same place.
Nice.
Because first of all, visually that would be boring.
Yeah.
And because the documentary is, it's mostly interviews.
Yeah.
If it's all at the same spot, it's boring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to watch that. So I also try to choose backgrounds that are actually fitting.
Mm-hmm.
So of course the smartshop owners are. That would have been really nice, but unfortunately,
a bit away. Yeah.
Yeah, tricky. But yeah, so the smart shop owners, for example, they were interviewed in their smart shop, and the man who organized the retreat was filmed at the retreat, and then the researchers partially either at home or at work, this kind of thing.
Yeah, and was that kind of based off their availability or their preference?
Partially, yes. For those that were working, yes, and for the smart shop owners, that was, there was no discussion
there anyway. So
it's just the good place,
and it looks good in the background.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
And then for the users, so the people with therapeutic experiences, that was then either at their place or at places that I rented.
Yeah. So were you recording when you went to record with someone, let's say the smart shop owner? Were you there? It was just you and them?
No, there were clients coming in because they of course can't close their shop. With one of them here in Groningen, they have a room in the basement. So we went there, and that was really helpful because then you don't really hear the customers.
Yeah.
And another one had to take customers, but we tried to film it in a moment of the day where there's less customers.
Yeah.
And you just pause it and then you continue again.
But in terms of crew, were there people helping you on site?
No, it was just me. I did everything, alone.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Otherwise, it would be very weird. Imagine if you're like one of those customers, you're coming to the store, there's like
whole
10
crew
people there. Like, hello.
Yeah, it would be a little odd.
Yeah, how was it to schedule everyone? And kind of tangent question, how long did it take to actually film everything?
So the filming took half a year-ish, so it took really long. Maybe even a little bit longer. And the scheduling also took a while because I started the first interview in almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then some of the interviews happened really quickly after that.
Yeah.
And then others, like, for example, with the researchers, that was a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
So I think the last interview happened, half a year, maybe even between half a year and a year later.
Did you have like a proper list from the beginning of like, these are the people I'm going to hit up and I'm going to make them the content of my doc? And did that change in any way as it went on?
So the groups of people that I wanted to interview, so the smart shop, the researchers and all, that was set, but the individual people, not so much. That for the researcher, for the smart shop owners, for example, there are not that many smart shops in Groningen, so that was pretty easy to choose from.
Pretty limited selection.
Exactly. The people with therapeutic experiences, those I chose based on the people that were recommended to me by the people from the Psychedelic Society.
Yeah.
And then the researchers, I then looked up what the leading researchers are. And then I emailed them and I re-emailed them and I re-emailed them.
Yeah,
but I also went to the Summer School for Psychedelic Research, as I mentioned earlier.
And gave you some context.
Exactly, that gave me some context, and then I talked to them in the breaks, and then I asked them, and then some of them were willing to be interviewed.
But like in the end, because it also said that some researchers refused to do an interview when they found out that people running a smart shop were in it as well. Like how many people, first of all, were there, and why would they? Why is there some sort of beef going on between them?
I don't
like
think
the entire Drake Kendrick Lamar sort of.
No, it's not that bad.
They hate each other.
No, but quite a few actually. Also, for example, a very prominent hospital here in Groningen, not to name it, they officially said, their press speaker told me, no, we're not interested. Because, and I get it, I think, because it is a very sensitive topic, and they didn't know me. This is my first documentary. They don't know who I am or what my ethics are.
Fair enough.
And they...
Well, very unethical, clearly.
I mean, but you never know, right? Because there's a lot of... The psychedelic community is really varied, and you have a lot of good people, but you also have a lot of people that are not serious, and you never know, right? I could also have been someone to make a crappy documentary about it, and then they look bad in it, and I get that this is their work, and because it is a sensitive topic and the stigma is still very much present, they don't want to participate in anything that could harm their credibility.
Sure,
because as a researcher, that's a really important part. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I do get it. But I also think that it is, a little short-sighted.
Sure.
Because the smart shop owners also have very valuable knowledge. So do the people with the therapeutic experiences and the organizer of the retreat.
Yeah.
And I think that not engaging in a conversation with everyone that's involved, it gives me a little bit ivory tower, a little bit of an ivory tower. So
name and shame him now on public radio.
No, I want to.
Doctor, this and this.
And because I see their reason, I think I disagree, but I still understand their reason, and I respect that, right? Each to their own, and that's fair enough.
Now that you have a dog under your belt, maybe in the future.
Yes, exactly. I hope that's going to increase my street cred.
Absolutely, the street cred in the doctor's world,
research community.
Yeah, about that. Because do you have any now that this one is almost done into the premiere, have you got further ideas and inspiration for documentaries and or other type of projects?
Yes, I have a lot of ideas.
Nice.
I have more ideas than time.
Of course.
So I'm now working, setting the first steps for a new documentary.
Nice.
And that's going to
Scoop
be
us.
The first ones to know.
Oh.
That's about improv comedy in the Netherlands.
Hey. Cool.
So something completely different, with a focus on Groningen, because the improv community in Groningen is pretty big.
Yeah.
But it's going to be about improv in the whole of the Netherlands.
Cool.
And I'm also working on a short movie for a contest here in Groningen, the Cine Challenge, with the topic, they give you genre, and this year the genre is fantasy, so I'm working on a short film in fantasy.
Yeah, well, we'll have to talk after the show. I know there's one improv guy we had on the show as a guest.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. Last things about your movie. Tell us a little bit about editing. It gets filmed in about, half a year, right? And then it goes through the editing process. Or was that also happening simultaneously?
Some of it was happening simultaneously, because then I was waiting for the last interviews.
Sure.
And, because some, as I said, were a little hesitant. It took a while to get them on board. And I thought, in the meantime, I can already get started with the edit, at least try to part of it.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun, because you end up with a lot of... I had an idea a little bit about what the structure was going to be roughly.
Yeah.
But then I let myself also be guided by the interviews, and I then had all of this footage, all of this material, and then it is... tricky, but also a lot of fun to then put order into all of that chaos, and to kind of build a structure from all of it. And I have to say at this point, I don't know what my original idea was anymore because I let myself be guided by the interview so much that it...
That was the number one thing I was thinking of when it's like, I'm watching it with the intent of like, okay, I'm going to interview this guy, the guy who made it. And then it's like, how do you, like, there's so many steps to get here. Like, this is the version number 200 of the movie where it could have been, it could have ended in 1,000 different ways based on the edit, right? But somehow you find a way. And was it easy to know, like, hey, I'm done? Like, this is the final version, I'm really happy with it? Or would you still change something?
In the beginning, I changed some things, right? Because I had like a first rough cut and I thought, this is a little bit too boring. This is too dry.
Yeah.
And then I mix it up a little bit. I changed the structure a little bit. And then after that, like the second version, and I was pretty happy. And then there were small changes. There's constantly small changes. But like the second version was more or less what's going to premiere next week.
Well, huge respect that you pushed through. I can imagine it can be very...
well, especially if it takes like 2 years, you said?
like let's say a year and a half. But
all right, it can be disheartening, right? If it's like you have a cut of it, and it's like, what's wrong with it, right? That's tough to get through.
But I also think it's really motivating, right? Because you think, okay, this is not it. What can I do to make it better, right? Because
love to hear.
Filmmaking is also filmmaking is a lot of problem solving.
Yeah,
both practical problems and problems like this, and it's kind of it's kind of like a riddle, right? And you know, I can solve it, and it needs to be solved, and the fun is how am I going to solve it?
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's really
so about that. Because what do you think was the funniest experience in your 1.5 year?
Yeah, what was the best part, the most fun?
Yeah, it's going to be really cheesy, but I like everything. I like coming up with the concept, coming up with the interviews, traveling to do the interviews, meeting all of these different people, editing it, going through it. Because a lot of the things that the people said were, not totally new, but I learned a lot of new things, and it was a lot of fun. And then, as I said, bringing order into that chaos of all the footage, that's also, I just really like that. And I worked on the music with a friend, which was also a lot of fun. And I have to say now also the distribution part is fun. Being interviewed here is a lot of fun. So far the fun just keeps on going.
And the premiere should be pretty fun too.
Oh yeah,
yes, definitely yes.
Looking forward to that.
That's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap this?
I guess one last question, just because I think it's something that
we've got a couple minutes.
That should be really like highlighted. Is the movie, at least the version I watched, has subtitles hard coded into the film.
Yeah,
that's insane. I mean, like maybe people don't think about it, but subtitles are not like, if you have to make them manually, that sucks. That's awful. So what was the process like for making that? It just takes a lot of time, right? Because you go through then the audio, and then you pause, and then you do a little bit of subtitles, and then you continue, and it took me days. Yeah, I believe it.
And then I also, it's
sore fingers from the time.
Definitely. And it just, it's also really not really stimulating work. So it's, really redundant.
Yeah.
And then I also tend to make a lot of, typos.
Sure.
So I went through it very, very often, and then I had other people go through it, and even the last version that was supposed to not have a single mistake, I had a friend go through it, and he still found a page of mistakes. So it's really tedious. But I also thought it was really important because the Dutch people speaking Dutch and the English people speaking in English, and I think that it is important for it to be that. Both Dutch people and internationals get to see and understand this documentary, that it is for both.
The subtitles for each respective side. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we're in our last couple secones. Maurice, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So last little push, advertise the doc and where we can see it.
So you can come see the screening at the Vrijdag Theatre on the 22nd of March. The screening is from 8 until 10. After that, there's a Q&A and a little borrel.
Yeah.
And you can find the tickets either on my Instagram or on the different socials of the show.
And we'll link through to your Instagram.
Yes.
We'll make sure it gets to you. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes. And we will be back next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
On Oak Radio.